Hashem's Basai Tivtach Ufiya Gitzil Asacha. We're now in the 8th parak of Tehilim. This parak is a very important parak, perhaps in continuity with what we've been talking about, where David has shown emuna and bitachon to the umpth degree. This is helpful to get to, how do we get to a bigger avas Hashem, love of Hashem, and yiras Hashem, and fear of Hashem. This parak, according to the Meiri, was talking to the apikortzim, the kofrim, the people that denied God. But us, who are not on that level, Baruch Hashem, we can also take a lot of lesson from the perspective of this parak. Lamnatseach, again to the conductor, al ha-gigtis. What is the gigtis? This is either an instrument or the gat, the wine press, that they were singing it while they were pressing on the wine. Mizmor LeDavid, remember we said, first David HaMelech has to do his best to sing, and then HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives him nevuah. And what does he say? Hashem Adonenu, Hashem our God, Ma'adir Shimcha b'chol haaretz, how mighty is your name, Asher Tna Hodecha al Hashamayim, through the earth your majesty extends across the heavens. Now, this is a pasuk. There is a midrash that talks about that when HaKadosh Baruch Hu wanted to give the Torah, the Malachim were so upset, and they said, Hashem, how could you do this? Ma'adir, you're grander than the whole wide world, and the Shamayim, don't give it to Moshe. No, let it stay with us. And Hashem went through this whole thing with Moshe, and finally Hashem gave it to mankind. And what was the end result? Hashem Adonenu Ma'adir Shimcha b'chol haaretz. So no longer was it Hodecha al Hashamayim, which was the way that pasuk, the second pasuk in this parak begins, but rather the last pasuk in the parak is that Ma'adir Shimcha b'chol haaretz, that now Hashem's name is going to be great among all the land, that Hashem did successfully give to Moshe the Torah, and it got transmitted to us, that Hashem chose us and not the Malachim. Malachim, we said, are perfect. They are omdim, they stand. We are mahalchim. We walk. We make mistakes, but we were zocha to accept the Torah. But now we have to understand why that is. And there are two different perspectives that perhaps are juxtaposed. They seemingly are opposite. The first is, first of all, we recognize the greatness of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and we recognize His greatness, so we are small in comparison. And where he compares, Mipi olalim b'yonkim yasadet ha'oz laman tzorecha lahashbit oyev mitznakim. He compares us to the idea of what HaKadosh Baruch Hu does to a fetus who sucks. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu made the world such that the amount that comes out, the milk that comes out, is perfect. The whole is perfect. Yes, there are some kids who have a difficult time in the feeding process, but by and large, there's a perfect amount. First of all, the milk comes in advance of the woman even giving birth to the fetus. Her glands already are filled with milk. Later, when she gives birth, the amount that a baby needs is generally the amount that comes out of the mother. And it also comes out with the right amount of a suck. It doesn't have to be a squeeze. It doesn't have to. It's exactly within the capability of the baby. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that idea is exactly that you found that your power against the enemies and doing good to us is exactly what we need. And so when you look at nature, you see HaKadosh Baruch Hu. When you look at the moon and the stars, you see HaKadosh Baruch Hu. What happened to the sun? So why is it that he only says the stars and the moon? So perhaps he's talking at nighttime, so you're only going to see the moon during that time. Or perhaps there's an idea of the vulnerability of man. Man is a lot more vulnerable in the nighttime. And so you see the power of HaKadosh Baruch Hu so much more in the nighttime, when you're vulnerable, when you're not thinking about how great you are, but here, this is a highlight of we are so low compared to Hashem, who is so great. You look at the enormity of the galaxy, and you feel so tiny. Going to those 3D movies, in the Natural History Museum, and you look up, and even in the movie, you just feel like so small in compared to the huge, enormous galaxy and the power of the moon and the stars to give light in the vastness of darkness is so significant. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the first thing is really we are so small, and when we're so small, it is the part that Avram, he says, "An afar ve'efer." I'm like dust. We're dust. Mankind is very small, but that only leads to Yiras Hashem. That leads to the fear of Hashem because we're small in comparison. But the second part of the parak is an amazing one, and that is the enormity of who we are. So first, ma enosh ki tizkarenu, venadam ki tifkadenu. So we're just mortal, and so like we're nothing significant. But now, a pasuk that you should memorize: v'tachzireu ma'at melokim v'kavod v'hadar ta'atrehu. But then comes avas Hashem. How do we lead to love of Hashem? We love ourselves. This pasuk says, we are just under you, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. We're literally right there. We are partners with you. Like we are the nekeva to Hashem, the zachar. We are the female, the receptors in this world to Hashem that is the giver. Yes, we need everything from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. But then we have a role. We are the medabrim. We're the speakers when mankind can't. When the world was being destroyed during the time of Noach, all of Bria, all of creation messed up because man messed up, so everybody messed up. We are the kingpin in this world, and so for that reason, when we have the sense of our capability, then we can achieve. And so if we just remember, we're just under you, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And so Timshikeu b'masei yadecha, kol shata tachar aglav. So you made us the rulers over it, and we're just beneath you. And so what are we going to be able to handle? We're going to handle the sonat ba'alafim kulam, the gambe mot shadai. All of animals we take care of. We are Makadesh in this world. We raise everything. All of creation, we elevate it. We elevate it through brachas. We elevate it through our mitzvos. A tree is not just a tree. A palm is not just a palm, because when you shake it and it becomes a lulav, it's significant. Animals, when they're giving us karbanos, or we use them to help us with shatnez, or when we're fire, every single thing in this creation is all elevated, and that's why we can't abstain from the pleasures of life. We are supposed to be makadesh the world so that we can do something. When we make a bracha, that apple is not supposed to not be eaten. It's supposed to be eaten l'shem shamayim. And so when we ourselves feel good about ourselves, that we're just under our Kadosh Baruch Hu, that leads us to make good decisions. We're not depressed. When you're not depressed, then you can come to a clarity in your thoughts and your actions, and you can act in the way that HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants for us to do. And then when you do all that, that's the answer. Hashem Adonenu Ma'adir Shemcha B'chol Haaretz. That's the answer to the Malachim. We got this. Yes, you are perfect, but we are the perfect creation that is supposed to help HaKadosh Baruch Hu. We have a Tselem Elokim inside of us. We are born with a part of godless inside of us. And so while in one pocket, in the olden days, they would have in one pocket, they would say, Abani Afar Va'efer, that I am nothing, but in the other pocket they said, Bishvili Nivra Olam, the world was created for me. Hashem wants us to have the self-confidence to be able to say, I am just under him. Yes, I need to have bitachon and emunah because I'm still under him, and he still is the one that is the being, the source of everything, but I am the makabel. I am his little messenger. I am a Bas Yisrael. Nivra b'tzelem Elokim, and with that we have a love of ourself and we have a love of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and that is the antidote to the kofar, to the people who don't believe. They don't believe in themselves and they don't believe in HaKadosh Baruch Hu. We are right. The most beautiful line, V'tachzireu me'at melokim. We're just underneath you, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And so we can be the receptacles of all of the brachas, all of what Hashem wants. And in that way, it's a very uplifting and very powerful parak.